Hello everybody, welcome back to a true crime tale in a very dark room. It's so dark today, I feel like the sun didn't rise, but anyway. Today's story is a highly requested one and one that I've been reading, watching, listening to podcasts about since it came on my radar a little earlier this year. This week we are going across the pond to the USA to Forsyth County in Georgia. This week marks the second anniversary of the mysterious death of Tamla Horsford. She was a black mother of 5 and she died at an all-white slumber party in Georgia. It might have been a complete accident, but because of a compromised investigation, we may never know. Today, I want to tell you what we do know, the circumstances surrounding Tamla's death and why it's such a big mystery, and also why it came back on our radar 2 years later in 2020. Let's get into it. Welcome to the anniversary. Shwa-na-na-na, 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 shwa-na-na-na. Tamla was 40 years old when she attended a sleepover on the 3rd of November 2018. She was with other football mums at a slumber party. It was the house of John Myers and it was John's birthday. Instead of having a party where people got drunk and then they drove home intoxicated, she decided to have a slumber party, a sleepover, and it was meant to be all women. But a few of the guys, including John's boyfriend, ended up staying. Tamla rocked up at about 8:30 with a bottle of tequila and ready to have a good old time. She knew John the best from what I've seen, from what I've read and from what I've heard. I don't think that she knew many of the party goers that well, if at all. And like I said, although it was meant to be an all-girls sleepover, Jose and 1 or 2 of the other husbands stuck around and they hung out in a separate room. Throughout the night, the women watched football games, they ate. Witnesses said that Tamla would go onto the first floor deck and she'd go out and smoke cigarettes and marijuana, smoke some weed as well. The night, by all circumstances, was a success. Everyone was drinking. When Tamla first got there, she took a shot of whiskey and then drank her tequila, but she wasn't the only person who was having a good time and getting merry at the party. The guests who weren't staying over, because not everybody who attended the shindig was planning on sleeping over, they started leaving at about 11:30, according to police interviews. Tamla stayed up, she stayed awake even when the people who were attending the slumber party who were sleeping over went to bed. She didn't want it to end. The last person to see her alive was Bridget Fuller. Now, she was picked up by her husband at 1:47 a.m. and in her statement she said that she saw Tamla eating a bowl of gumbo. Tamla said that she had planned to go and smoke a cigarette and then head to bed. We know it was 1:47 because the home security system logged each time the doors were open. And then at 1:57, the back door opened, presumably for Tamla to go and smoke that cigarette, but it never closed again. Tamla was discovered in the back garden, lying face down at 8:30 the next morning. John's aunt, who was sleeping in the basement, woke up at about 8:30, and according to her statement, she was going to make herself a pot of coffee and she saw Tamla outside. She said at first she thought that she was sleeping. She saw the onesie that she was wearing. It was a white paw print onesie, and she said a prayer and then realised that it wasn't a dream. She said that she didn't open the door. Instead, she went upstairs to get her niece, Jean. And Jose and John got dressed, came downstairs, and then they called 911 at 9:01.
We had people over last night when we were drinking. Most of us went to bed. One of them stayed on the balcony. She was drinking, and we just went outside, and she's laying face down in the backyard. It looks like, I'm guessing maybe she fell off the balcony, but she's stiff.
Okay, is she breathing?
I don't know if she's face down.
Hey, this is Jose Barrera.
Hey, have y'all checked to see if she's breathing?
She's not moving one bit. She's not breathing.
Okay.
I just try to assess her, touch her completely face down in the yard.
Did you see any blood or anything to from where she fell?
I don't know if I should move her over. I mean, she's completely face down.
When the police arrived at the scene, they found Tamla face down with her head away from the house and her feet towards the house. She was pronounced dead at just after 10 a.m. that morning. The autopsy report states that she died from multiple blunt force injury, which when I first read it, I thought this is a bit suspicious, but they say that that was the cause of death and then the manner of death was accidental. There were injuries on her head, on her neck, on her torso, on her forehead, above her left eye, on the bridge of her nose, her right temple and chin. She had fractured a vertebrae, her right wrist was dislocated, and a laceration was present on her heart as well. The toxicology report showed a blood alcohol level of 0.24, which is 3 times the legal limit in Georgia. And I don't know why everyone keeps talking about the legal limit, because she wasn't driving, but I guess it's just a way to measure it. Also, she had THC in her system and Xanax as well, THC from the weed that she was smoking. Tamla's case was ruled as an accident and it was closed in February of 2019. But in June of this year, the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, agreed to reopen the investigation into Tamla's death.
Authorities have reopened an investigation into the mysterious death of a black mother in North Georgia. Police ruled Tamla Horsford's death at an adult sleepover party in 2018 accidental, but there is renewed interest in the case, and celebrities, including rapper 50 Cent, joined more than 500,000 people calling for justice.
In November 2018, Horsford went to a friend's sleepover birthday party at a home in North Georgia. The next morning, the 40-year-old was found in her pajamas, unresponsive, in the backyard.
The thing is, when Tamla was found dead, when her family found out about it, they were not satisfied with the investigation that surrounded the circumstances of her death. A lot of the witness statements didn't match up with each other. The fact that nobody even checked to see if Tamla was breathing when they found her outside and they called the ambulance, and the woman on the phone is like, is she breathing? They're like, dunno. The fact there were no photos of Tamla's autopsy made available to the lawyers of Tamla's family is super suspicious. The fact that Tamla received so many injuries, the fact that her body was face down on the grass is suspicious, because if you fall accidentally because you're sitting on a fence, that's not how you'll land. Even if you were kind of standing up and you tipped over, if you were standing on a chair or something like that, you'd kind of flail around, or you think that you would flail around. And one of the most suspicious things about this case was the reaction or lack of reaction from those at the party. The fact that there was a dead body in the garden. On that 911 call, you can't even hear anybody. And I know that we don't know, I say it all the time, you don't know how you'd react if something happened when you were there. But I think people would be making noise, they'd be shouting, they'd be checking on her, they'd be shaking her, they'd be asking what happened, and it's just so silent. The fact that Jose was fired for trying to get information on a case that he was a witness in is so suspicious.
The woman at a Forsyth County house party is drawing a lot of interest here and across the country. Many, including her friends, are not convinced this was an accident.
Jose Barrera is a witness who used his position with the county to get the police report. He was fired for doing that. The report shows that he told detectives the woman fell to her death.
A source gave us this video of an adult slumber party last November in Forsyth County. One of the attendees was mother of 5, Tamla Horsford. Another video shows her talking to what appears to be a very drunk partygoer. The next morning,
Have y'all checked to see if she's breathing?
a 911 call about a disturbing discovery.
She's not moving one bit. She's not breathing.
The man making that call was the homeowner's boyfriend, Jose Barrera. We first told you last week about how Forsyth County fired Barrera after they say he misused his position as a probation officer to access incident reports about Horsford's death during an active investigation.
It's so crazy that it took the death of George Floyd and the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement for a case like Tamla's to come to world attention, for people like me to hear about it, because I had never heard of Tamla Horsford's case before June of 2020, and then I saw 50 Cent and T.I. tweeting about it and thought, wow, what is this? The fact that so many checkboxes weren't ticked, the fact that there was so much secrecy within the investigation and they just wrote it off, is unfortunately something that we see time and time and time again when it comes to the death of black people. This case is an example, a great, perfect example actually, of how public attention can impact an investigation. But hopefully we will find out what happened to Tamla Horsford. Yes, to put this to bed and to get a conclusion, but also for her friends, for her family, for her 5 children. They genuinely deserve more. This case is still ongoing. I hope that in a few months soon I'll be able to have an update and let you know what's happening with the case of Tamla Horsford, if they are taking the investigation a little bit more seriously than the first time. But until then, that's all I've got so far. I'd love to know your thoughts and what you think happened to Tamla, given all the information that I've given you today. And of course, please use the research links in the description box for this video. It's a really tough one because it really could have been a tragic accident that happened to somebody, but everyone was moving mad and now all of us are suspicious. So let me know what you think. Thank you for watching and I will see you next week.